Hello there, and welcome back to Empower Your Soul. I am so excited about today's episode because I get to introduce all of you to somebody who I hold dear. Her name is Adriana Keefe, and she is not only an incredible human design expert and business coach, but she's also a really good friend of mine. And I'm so excited to have you here because frankly, she is just such a badass bitch that is going places. So I can't wait to share this episode with all of you. As a little background, Adriana is a human design expert and speaker who helps women define and embody their sense of self and spirituality. She's a 4/6 manifesting generator, and we'll get into that a little bit. A wife, a mom of 3 amazing kids, a lover of animals, and also an unapologetic fan of New Girl. Yes, that's right. She also hosts the No BS Human Design podcast, where she breaks down human design in ways that are practical and empowering. She does speaking events, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, human design chart readings, and has, as she alludes to at the end, a membership coming up as well, which I'm so excited about. And she really works with her clients to align their energy to create lives and businesses that really truly feel like theirs. She's bold, she's brilliant, and she's on a mission to make alignment accessible for everyone. So I want to thank Adriana for coming here today, and I can't wait for you to all listen in. All right. Welcome, Adriana. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this because Lord knows what's going to come out of your mouth for questions.
It's true. I hope you don't mind. I have notes in front of me, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit. But I just wanted to say, like, I've so been looking forward to this conversation because I know how much you have to share about human design and how it changes so many lives. So thank you so much for being my first official interview on this podcast.
Oh, thank you. What an honor.
All right. So just a little background for the listeners here. Adriana and I first met when she actually came to one of my mediumship demonstrations. And she's one of those people who instantly lights up the room. So she reached out to me with some mediumship questions that she had. And she gave me a reading. We did exchange services here, and we've been kind of off and running to the races since. And I know what an inspiration you are. I know you have all these amazing big dreams. So I'm so thankful for you to be here today.
Thank you.
So let's dive in. So I'd love if you could, since many of my listeners may be unfamiliar, would you mind giving me a background on what human design is and why it's such a game changer for people?
Absolutely. So if you want like the actual definition of what human design is, it's a science meets spirituality system that combines astrology, Kabbalah, Ching, chakra system, quantum mechanics, all these ancient systems that other cultures have been using for years as divination tools. And when do I have my babies? When do I get married? How is my body designed to flow through this life? And the way that it's actually interpreted with like how you use it on a day-to-day basis is how do you decondition from society and the way that those, I guess, tools and resources from society have been put upon you and come back to who you were authentically born to be, who you were designed to be, imprinted as when you were born by all the planets around us. And how do you flow with that sense of energetic magnetism? Because that's what happens when you are fully breathing and being in your authentic self. Things just happen. It's like magic. So it's really learning how to connect deeply with your body and listen to her. Because I feel like everyone knows what it's like to say, oh, my gut told me this was going to happen. I didn't listen, so I did it anyway, right? We are always hearing that, but we don't really know what that means. And so imagine being able to actually communicate with your body at that level and listen to what she's telling you, or he. I always speak to women. So she or he or they, and be able to just like flow with the universal energies that are provided for you.
That's so rad. And I think what really has interested me a lot about human design is I am a data and numbers geek. So as cool as astrology and the zodiac and all that thing, all those are, I really love how everything is kind of based on numbers with like lookups. So I love how human design is so structured, even though when you pull up a chart, and Adriana has some on her website, you pull up your chart, like it looks like a hot mess and you're like, what's going on here? But
Yep. Just looking at yours now, and I'm like, of course she likes the numbers. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And I love your perspective on it as well, that this is a tool for you to know yourself better. And I think that's really cool. And I think the most prevalent example I've seen of that within human design across the different styles, and I'm not sure what the technical term is here, is how each one of you will use intuition differently, and human design can help you hone in on how do you receive your intuition, which I know is a lot of the questions that I get from people on social media and my clients.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And intuition, yeah, intuition for me means something different than for you. And so it's really hard to teach intuition if you don't actually know how people are designed. Like a lot of my friends who teach intuition, they're very familiar with things like human design because it's just part of the process.
Oh, that's so cool. So obviously this is a very comprehensive tool that probably takes quite a while to learn. So I'd love to hear what got you interested and what was your journey to get you to human design, and what do you love most about it?
I could talk for like 3 hours on this. So, long story short, when I was pregnant with my second daughter, I was in real estate at the time. I was very successful on the outside, but on the inside, everything was crumbling. I was very anxious. I was very stressed. The if anyone's ever been in real estate, it's like calls at 10, 11 p.m. at night. You had to get a buyer in. It was just a lot. And so I was really battling with the societal expectations of, but this is what success looks like, right? And I went to school for veterinary, so I had a butt ton of student debt because, of course, I couldn't actually pay my student loans with the pay that's actually in the veterinary field. And I just I had that dark night of the soul moment. I was like, I'm bringing a second child in, and I feel like I barely see my first child on nights and weekends. So I hired a few life coaches over time, and eventually, this one particular coach, I still chat with her every now and then. She literally changed my life. She introduced me to a more holistic approach of things in life. And for me, I was raised in a Catholic household, but it never resonated due to a lot of trauma I had as a child. So I considered myself agnostic. But something pulled me toward working with this person who looked at the mind, body, soul all together, even though I wasn't that connected at the time. I wasn't connected at all at the time. I was just like, cool, teach me something new. And then eventually she introduced me to this thing called human design. And I was never a fan of personality tests. Like the Enneagram, great, but I've gotten different results at different points in my life because there's so much room for conditioning and user error and who I'm actively being day to day versus who I'm designed to be. So I never really lived by personality tests or anything like that. But human design was like, put in your birth data. And then bam, it populated all this information about me that resonated so deeply to who I was as a child. That tends to be the key, is who were you as a kid before you were told to be something else. So if anyone wants to go to my website, they can download their chart now. They're going to learn a little bit about manifesting generators because that's what I am. Very multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate, a lot of energy. I was diagnosed with ADHD. And when I saw that, it was like a remembering. But because I was so disconnected from any sense of spirituality or anything universal, it kind of sent me in a tailspin because I was like, what does that actually mean? If that's accurate, what does this mean in the grand scheme of things? So then I pushed it away and then it found me again. That's what happens, right? Probably happened with you with mediumship. It just kept coming back and you like can't deny it. So eventually I started going down the rabbit hole. And this was during a time that I was also very actively healing from my childhood abuse because, of course, having kids really triggered it. So I was doing EMDR and some other therapy tools. And while those worked well for what they needed to do, they neutralized the flashbacks, they made me less reactive. I still found that I was like a shell of a human on the day-to-day basis. I still didn't know who I was. I didn't really have good friendships because I was just so fearful of getting close to anyone. I wasn't me. I wasn't even just 4 years ago, the me that you see, even 2 years ago. So human design really helped me understand, well, who am I at my core? And then that spiraled a whole nother layer of this for me and how I teach it specifically. But that's what human design did. It literally saved my life. I mean, I was almost checked into hospitals on multiple occasions for complex PTSD and some traumatic things that were happening. And human design changed everything for me.
Well, I love your story so much because it's the reality I think a lot of my clients come into as well is just they don't know who they are
Hmm.
and they're so societally conditioned from such a young age that they are and they're expected to be certain things. And it's almost like peeling back the layers one at a time to figure out who are they actually. But I do that from a soul perspective, but I love that you do that from a human design perspective and you're able to bring people back to who who am I meant to be? Like, what is my path? What's friction for me? What's easy for me? And I think it just gives people a voice and validation where they can't get that, I think, in any other tool that I've seen. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, I was very interested in astrology most of my life, not super in depth, but I was like, oh, this is cool. And I had readings, but then after the readings, it was like normal life. I was like, okay, this didn't actually change anything for me. Whereas human design, it literally gives you the tools and the steps of like, if you want to let this part of you come out, this is what you do. So I feel like that was a big game changer. I'm the most coachable person ever. I mean, we share the same business, coach. I am
Yeah.
the most coachable person to a fault. But, astrology itself didn't give me those tools and human design when I realized that that was what I was looking for. I was like, oh, so I just do this and then I do this. And then that's where it all unfolded.
It's so true. And what's interesting for me is I'm always looking for easier and faster way to do things. That's just who I am. And this is probably something with my projector, and we can go through the four types. Um, but it's so interesting to me because now I've tried to get into astrology over and over again, and it's like Greek to me. I know it's something I need to learn eventually, but with human design, it just makes so much more sense to me. So much that I've used your website to print the chart for like my husband, my daughter, my son. And now I'm able to really understand them and understand when they're in alignment, when they're out of alignment, what's the best way to have conversations with them. So not only is it such a helpful tool for me as a human and a business person and all that jazz, but it's also so amazing as a parent and also probably the major people that are in your life as well, just understanding how can you improve the relationships, how can you help your little kids grow and keep who they are, even though you do have to ultimately teach them how to navigate the social norms as well. So I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, or what you've seen in your own life, or benefits that you've seen with clients kind of using this tool not only for themselves but others directly in their lives.
I mean, even in my own marriage and as a parent myself, like this has been a huge game changer in my marriage, especially for just understanding that we both need like that I need more time, even though he wants a resolution right there and then all three of my kids are different design types. Of course, the universe had to make it difficult for me. I truly think that was so that I could understand at depth more of the types. You know what I mean? If I
Yep.
only had three other manifesting generators, I'd still really only know, firsthand experience of myself. Um, and then for my client, I have a lot of clients who are business owners and they also have client work and they now implement human design in their work just in the better understanding of how to communicate with their clients. What do their clients actually need from them when it comes to making decisions? How can they guide them to make their best decisions in the way that they're actually designed to? So a lot of my clients use this with their client work, with their kids. I mean, I hear it all the time. I was in yoga yesterday and I recently hosted a workshop there. And someone who was in the yoga class with me was like, I printed them out for my kids and I've started to ask my child yes or no questions. And I'm realizing I'm getting answers so much easier than when we asked him open-ended ones. And I was like, that's it. Like, how can we make this easier for us, but also nurturing them and their designs? Because I mean, we're all gonna fuck our kids up a little bit. Like we just are. But how can we do the best that we feel like we can? And it's by nurturing who they are and what they need from us too.
No, I'm just laughing because yeah, it's just a matter of how much are we going to fuck up our kids.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
less is better. We're going to have to pay for the therapy someday.
Yep. Yep.
But I love that. And then, shifting into the business owner, since you mentioned it, I have to say, when I sat down with you for my reading, it was profound the way that you explained it to me. And I never, ever, I think, would have thought of human design as a tool for my business. But being able to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you have my chart in front of you, but even for me as a projector, maybe we can go into what the types are. there's just something about me and my lines within human design that highlight that I'm best if I'm talking about what I'm learning, and which is like exactly what I'm doing on this podcast, right? I'm talking about what I'm learning. And I can't remember what some of the other things are, but I'm out of alignment when I'm frustrated, or I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm out of alignment when I'm resentful. And I think we had this conversation right before I left my corporate job. I have to tell you, every time I had to do work, I was very resentful. So like the way, even down to the language that human design uses, is incredible. And I think you've really helped me shift perspectives on how can I use my human design profile in a way that's beneficial for my business. And I have to imagine this is so impactful for your business clients.
Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, I think that's why I tend to mostly get entrepreneurs is because yes, they want something better in their business, but really our business comes from us. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
soul journey no matter what. It's how can we be more of ourselves because that's really where success comes in, where we are more of ourselves and we're letting our authentic gifts shine through. So it's all holistic, right? It's all combined.
It's absolutely true. Do you mind giving a little bit of information on the four profile type? There's four, right?
Six. There's
Six.
six.
Oh, so
Well,
far
okay.
off.
It depends. Are you talking about the types within human design? Like you're a projector, I'm a manifesting generator?
Probably, or
Okay.
whatever you think would be good as like baseline information so that people could start thinking about human design and kind of how engaging them and how that might be impacting their lives. And I know everyone can go and enter their birth information to look it up, but I'd love if you could give like the 411 or the just the high level on some of the major things
Mhm.
about human design, if that's okay.
Yeah. So super high level would be by type.
Okay.
And there are five types. So, like, you are a projector. That is your type by human design. There's a huge variation. There's so many nuances. So, like, this is just super high level. It goes so much more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
But you, as a projector, you are someone who is a really great guide, teacher, leader. You tend to like look into the energy of other people and know exactly what needs to be fixed and how to tweak things. So thinking efficiencies, systems, how do we make this better? How do we make it faster? All of that is very much projector energy. When I work with projectors, a lot of the time they tend to come to me in actual physical burnout because projectors are designed to work in smaller spurts of energy. 2 to 3 hours tends to be like what I hear. That could be 2 to 3 hours the whole day. I'm actually curious if that's kind of your norm looking at your energy. It could be 2 to 3 hour spurts a couple times. Like, what's true for you when I say that?
I am good in 2 to 3 hour spurts, but I am a workhorse where I will work till 11 at night. But I need to take the breaks, and I know there's moments where I need to step away. So purposely in my day, I'll stop. I'll take the dog for a walk. I'll work out. So it's not even that I need to rest. And I know I'm still pushing against my design and probably what I should be doing. But I definitely need to do a heads down task, get in flow state to 2 to 3 hours. And I mean, when I do a 2 to 3 hours of work, it's more like people's 6 to 8 hours of work because I'm so
Yes.
fast and efficient at it. But then I'll take a break and then I'll keep going. I'll do it
Mhm.
over and over again. So yeah.
Yeah. And that can work for you for a while, paying attention to like when your body is actually genuinely tired. And because you have other generator types in your house too, don't you?
Yeah, my son is a manifesting generator, and what's the one? Is the other one just a generator?
Generator. Yep.
Yep. So my
Yep.
son's the manifesting generator, ADHD, and my husband's the generator. And my daughter is also a projector, which I'm not
Oh,
surprised at
cool.
all about because she's such a
Yeah.
mini me.
I love that. So you
Yep.
can actually learn so much about you through her. I've been doing the
Yes.
same with my son, who's a manifesting generator. And so just understanding like you have a lot of what's called sacral energy in your house from the generators, which can make you feel like that fuel to keep going. So you're just going to have to learn what your true boundaries are and what you're taking from other people around you and then kind of overusing. Does that make sense?
It does. It just cracks me up because I've taught my kids their human design profile, and my daughter knows that she can kind of borrow other people's energy as a projector. So she literally looks at my son, who's the manifesting generator, and she tries to pull his energy in, and he just
Oh
gets
my
so
God.
upset.
That's all. That's awesome. That reminds me of, have you seen Agatha All Along?
Yes.
Oh, she just like sucks the power out of them. I love that. I love it. Yes. Um, okay, so that's projector. I mean, and you're
Mhm.
right. You guys in like 2 to 3 hours, you can do something that would take me all day. So it is never a less than, greater than thing. That's just a part
Mm.
of your magic. Let's talk manifesting generators, since that's what your son is, that's what I am. We are we are people who have that like battery that's within the sacral center. So we can feel like limitless at times, multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate. We want to do a lot of things. We get bored easily, need to move on, which was a big thing for me in most of my life. I always felt like a quitter because I was like, why am I so bored? And I want to go do something new all the time. But overall, we really truly only get that energy when we are doing things that make us feel really excited, like this fire in the belly. It has to be about the fire in the belly. If not, we can still burn out too. I mean, I have a whole group mastermind program based on my functional burnout and how to heal that and come back through. And then generators are similar to manifesting generators. They are technically the same aura type, which is like the energy field around us. That being said, they tend to not get as jumpy aroundy as manifesting generators are. My husband's a generator and he loves to start things and then complete them all in one go. Me, I'm like, oh, I'm bored. What can I do over here? And then I'll come back to that later. Maybe I won't come back to it. Maybe I will. And so there's a lot more bouncing around. Does that sound like your son and your husband?
Well, that's definitely my husband. My husband's
Hmm.
definitely the generator, and he tends to start and stop like so he finishes the project and he cannot understand that people can't finish projects.
Yeah. Yep. That's my husband with me. So I used to get frustrated with him that he couldn't just walk away from something and help me. And then
Yes.
he would get frustrated with me because he's like, how, like, can you just finish this one thing before you move on? And I'm like, nope, la di da di da. I just like go around doing whatever. And then we have manifestors. You know what? I should say generator types. So both of those generators are the majority of the population. So we tend to really condition other people with our go-go energy. That's what I'm talking about with you in your household. So projectors are only about 20% or so of the population. And then manifestors are about 9%. Manifestors really tend to resonate with that whole let me start something and then move on to something new before I finish it because they're actually here to be the initiators, the fire starters, the what ideas can I bring into this world? And, if you want to get technically, the generator types would be there to build upon the ideas that the manifestors bring through. So manifestors are very much that jumpy, aroundy, just like the manifesting generators, and they like to start things and then pass them off, and that's a part of their magic. My oldest daughter is a manifester. And she is very independent, very autonomous. She wants to go make a disaster in the kitchen and then not clean it up. And so there's like this fine balance of letting her have that independent freedom because that's what manifestors really need and also keeping her safe. It's really a weird thing to be a parent of a manifester. And then we have reflectors. Reflectors are only 1% of the population. And what they actually do, they're here to reflect back the general health, stability, well being of any environment that they're in. So I have two friends and past clients who are reflectors. And at times on calls with one of them specifically, everything she was like moving through in her family, it was very hard. It was very sticky. There was a lot of stuff coming up. And it took me like a week. But at one point, I realized, oh my God, she's reflecting back everything I'm currently going through because my husband had just lost his job. And it was like this whole thing. So it's really crazy, but they tend to reflect back what needs to be worked on or what's working really well just throughout the way that they live their life.
That's so incredible. And they must be so unique to work with because they are so quote unquote rare, right?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, yep. Still, I'm so grateful I've been able to work with a couple because that's really the best way for me to learn. Textbook and education can only give you so much. It's real life. Like, how do you run a business as a reflector if you don't have that consistent energy and all of that, that they've really been able to help me understand?
Oh, that's amazing. So, based on this overview, Adriana, who are the people that can really benefit from the readings, from a human design reading the most? Like, do you find your clients tend to be going through certain phases, certain major events? I know you probably get a good share of people who are just curious about the modality
Mhm.
and want the reading, but in your experience, like who is the best person that comes to you that gets the most out of these readings?
I realize what I'm about to ask. I've already said a swear on this podcast, but
Totally
can I?
fine.
Okay. All right. Because the people who come to me truly ready for this experience are people who are tired of their own shit and they're tired of living by society's rules. And they're very much like, I'm done. I am ready to take life into my own hands. I am ready to find my true essence and begin to live life through that lens. So, yeah, like you said, I get a lot of curiosity kind of chart readings, which is all great. I know that they take what they need from it. And
Mhm.
the ones where the people are the most ready, they're most tired of the shit that society's putting them through, especially business owners, because they could be like me, where they were so coachable, they do anything any coach would tell them, and none of it worked, and they'd feel like a broken failure because they just weren't designed to do things that way. And they're like coming to me like, what am I doing wrong? And I get to tell them that they're not doing anything wrong, and then everything changes for them.
But I love that you have a prescriptive formula, for lack of a better word, to know when you're out of alignment, right? Like it's measurable. You can actually see what is best for me and my energy versus what am I doing now. So that makes complete sense. And I don't know if you have an example that you can share about a client or a business owner that like what was your favorite story? Like who's been kind of your favorite person that you've kind of worked with?
Mm.
Sorry, I never like using the word favorite because I'm sure you love everybody, but what's one of the memorable, clients that you work with and what have you been able to help them through?
One of every time I get this question, there's this one client I was so grateful to work with who always comes up because she is a business owner. This was maybe 2 years ago, and she's a projector. And she was very much overworking herself. She was doing a lot of one-to-one, which actually projectors are really good at one-to-one because they can simply hone in on what the problem is and tell the person how to fix it. That being said, it's not scalable and it depletes your energy very easily. So when I was working with her, we were going through a lot of the pieces of her design, and she decided to pull back on one-to-one and a couple other tweaks within how she actually ran her business. Not so much about the pricing, but like what she was told made a successful business. She decided to stop doing and start doing things that her energy actually felt really excited to do, that she was like obsessed over. And it was scary because she's like, well, this is a lot of my pay. Like my income is one-to-one and this is scary to do this. The same month that she chose to pull back on that and stop doing the cold calling and the cold reach outs and just simply show up as the industry authority figure, showing what she was learning and all of that. She was approached for two speaking opportunities at different conferences. And she had a client ask if she could pay her more than what she was asking for. And that was like just the start of her journey. She's been on a very similar trajectory ever since. And it was all because she decided to trust this system, which is a whole other conversation around trusting a system like this. But that always stands out to me because it was actually, she wasn't doing more, she was doing less. And that shows the true co-creation between you and the energies that are supporting you.
Oh, that's so incredible. And trust is such a big, I think, factor for everybody who's in the middle of this existential life crisis and things don't feel aligned. And I love that story so much, Adriana.
Mm. Especially as a projector, you're like, yes, we're gonna do this.
Yes. Well, I think that's, why I do this podcast is I want people to see their potential and where they can be their best selves. And I want everyone to live a life that's just overflowing with joy and happiness. And I just love introducing and talking about people who have used tools like human design that you are obviously an expert in to find that path for them, because I don't think there's one right path for anybody. So when I hear stories like that, I'm just so glad that we're in this space where people have the opportunity to access these tools, right? And experts like you out here.
Yes. Like it's so much different. Man, if you knew me even a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
looking at me now, I've shed a lot of people because people think I'm just so weird now and just like so out there, but I would never have it any other way. I'm like, how did I live before knowing that I was so divinely supported? I don't know. It's just weird. Like how it's just weird to be that some people don't believe in some of this.
Preach. Oh yeah, no, you're speaking to the choir who's, gone to business school and,
Hmm.
data analysts and like working with top CEOs of Fortune 50 companies, right? And
Hmm.
um yeah, and knowing there was something bigger, but not, and finally being able to find all this and realize how divinely supported. I think you said that
Hmm.
well. You are is just, it's a game changer. And whatever tool works for you, that's wonderful. But I just love how those of us that come from the numbers, that come from the data, I just think human design is such an amazing opportunity for folks to really learn about themselves in a very measurable way.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
and you can use any tool that resonates with you. I've been studying numerology. You can
Yes.
find the same information in numerology. Astrology, it's very similar. So like it doesn't matter what tool you choose to use. Work with the one that resonates and run with it. Just don't put it down. Just keep trying, keep letting it sink into your cells, and your life will change, undoubtedly.
Yep. Well, you did the same for human design, and look at where you are now.
I know. You just saw my new photos. I'm like, damn, who is that? Speaking of that photographer, she's a reflector. So she was truly capturing my essence and like reflecting that back on the camera with how she was guiding me to do things.
Oh my gosh. So do you walk around or do you like label people in your head when you meet them? You're like, that person's definitely a manifesting generator.
Sometimes. Yeah. But you can be so wrong too because people are so conditioned, like there's a lot of generators out there who don't feel like they have the energy of a generator because they're so tired and burnt out for using their energy in incorrect ways. But yeah, a lot of times my intuition's like, but that person's a projector.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Was there anything that you want to make sure that we talk about that we didn't cover about human design you thought it'd be helpful to share?
Hmm. The last thing that's coming up is if there's any questions or even struggle around mental health or anything like that, I encourage you to check out something like human design. In my past, there's been a lot of emotional mental disorders talked about in therapies and whatnot. And what I've been finding so interesting is there's a common denominator in things like bipolar, borderline personality disorder, and all of that. I've been studying some celebrities, like Demi Lovato has been very open about her mental health. And there's a lot of things within the human design chart that are showing why we can present that way. And so while I think labels can be helpful at certain times, I think sometimes there's moments where labels are really not helpful and they can simply prescribe medication and try to mask who you are instead of learning how to lean into the energies of who you are. So, yeah, I would encourage you to check out human design if you have any questions around like your mental health or anything that you feel big, strong, low, whatever it is.
I love that. I do love that. And I completely agree with you about sometimes the labels are the symptom, not the root cause. And I think if you understand what the root cause is, then you can properly address it. And a lot of the root causes I've seen over and over again with your work, with my work, is that you're just not aligned with who you are and who you're supposed to be. And the more you push into it, the more that you're going to resist it. And that's going to show up as physical symptoms in your body, one way or the other.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Well, this was amazing. How can folks connect with you, or what do you have coming up, Adriana, that you'd like to share?
Mm. So for connecting, I would say Instagram, Audrey Keefe, Adri Keefe. My website's adrianakeefe.com, so you can go download your free chart. There's a free workshop on there, a free guide. There's a whole podcast. The No BS Human Design podcast is where I put most of my info. And then I also host free monthly new moon circles called Co-Create, which is not just human design specific. It's really a community for the spiritually curious who want to come learn. There's a little bit of astrology, a little bit of human design, things about the different seasons that we're in, a little bit of witchcraft or spells, and then also just like a safe community to ask the questions that you don't know like where other places to ask that, because the spiritual development journey can feel really lonely. So that's why I think that's coming up December 2nd. Is that a Monday? Next Monday. December
Yes, that would be
2nd.
next Monday. Yep.
Depending on when this airs, I do host it every month, although it might fall around New Year's Eve, so maybe not January, but I will host them every month. So you guys can get on the list right on my website.
Oh, that's so amazing. Do you want to share what you have coming up mid-December too?
Oh, sure. So I have for the first time in my business owning career, I guess, truly created a brand that's authentic to who I am because I've been on this human design journey for long enough now that the true me has really come through and shown through. So my entire website and company is getting a whole rebrand. I do have a membership community. So if Co-Create feels exciting for you and you want to join for more things like that, I have a whole community that is in the process of the rebrand launching mid-December, I think. And that is, again, just a community for the spiritually curious. But this will be the first time I'm truly showing up as like me, my big energy, my Taurus energy. Any Taurus listening is going to be like, oh my God, there's going to be like sensual things and roses, and it's all me, and it's all very unapologetic. So I'm very excited to see what that looks like when it's all completed.
My gosh, I can't wait. I'm so excited for
Mm,
you.
me
It's gonna
too.
be amazing. Well, Adriana, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom with us today. So I think like you're just such an inspiration to me. And I'm just so happy that I could share you with my listeners. And I know that you are onto amazing things. So I'm going to tell my listeners to give you a follow, see if Adriana resonates with you because she's going places and you don't want to miss out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me in here.
Oh, thank you so much, Adriana. Appreciate it.
Love you.
Love you too. Thank you all so much for listening in and holding space for my dear friend Adriana. I will include all of her information in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you all are continuing to embrace your purpose and empower your soul. Take care.